Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of What's the Nerd. This week, we are going to be counting down our top 20 list of the biggest moments in all of nerddom. And this week, we have a special guest, Justin, joining us. Justin is going to get us started with number 20 on the list.
All right. Well, coming in at number 20, we have Harry Potter when Hagrid says, "You're a wizard, Harry." It's the exact point where Harry and everybody else watching realize that he's kind of destined for something a lot bigger than just what he's experienced in his life so far, and that he's actually going to go to wizard school. And it has become one of the most quoted and iconic lines in the entire franchise.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I used to go around saying all the time, I'm a what? Like one of the most iconic. And one of the first movie posters I ever had in my room, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone movie theatrical poster. So yeah, definitely a big moment.
Without a shadow of a doubt, it's one of the best kickoffs to an incredible series of movies. And I don't just want to say like it sets the tone or anything along those lines. It's more just it's that real introduction into the journey that Harry's going on. Up to that point, he just is constantly being beaten down by life, living in a terrible situation. And like Justin said, he's destined for something more at that point. And it's just a really great kickoff to what becomes and evolves into a really incredible story.
Absolutely.
100%. But I mean, if we're just going to keep on rolling through this list, I mean, number 19, we have Superman's first flight from Man of Steel. Uh, we
Yeah.
Superman, you get to see his like majesty and his just like awe, like we've never seen before. It's really
And the
not just about him like learning to fly though. Like it's kind of who he is, like similar to how we just talked about with Harry Potter. It's like who he is and his destiny.
yeah,
Um,
the whole movie, the beginning of Man of Steel is so much build up, so much build up. He finally puts on the suit. And like Henry Cavill in that suit, like you look at him, and he's Superman. Like he is Superman. But like the first thing people think of when they think of Superman is he can fly. You have to get the flight down. And a lot of movies at that time, the flying, especially in a superhero movie, like was kind of jank. And seeing him, he puts his hand on the ground, and the rocks kind of fly up, and he takes off like a jet. Like it is chef's kiss. Best takeoff I've
And
seen in the movie.
something you can't forget is the musical score in that movie. Start to finish is incredible. But in
oh
that
yeah,
scene, you feel the tension, you feel the build up. And honestly, I would have this scene significantly higher on the list if that DC universe wasn't just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Like, in my opinion, Henry Cavill is the best on screen Superman we've ever had. When you see him in the Superman suit, like, all you can think is this is Superman. And if that really turned into a trilogy or just a good series of films, even if it was just Superman, if they got a true sequel, a true trilogy, like I think this would be much higher on the list, honestly.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
I am glad you brought that up because I do want to say and preface for this list, like Justin said, it's really hard to narrow down 20 moments through, the entirety of nerd culture. But, the success of these franchises does kind of help us place this because it's like you could have a really iconic scene in a movie, but if the rest of the franchise kind of sucked, it's really hard to like even want to be a fan of it or to quote it, right? And that's a lot of what these moments are.
And something I even want to backtrack on a little bit with the Harry Potter scene, as epic as that moment is, as quoted, as successful that series is, it's still a very small moment that kind of sets the tone. And there are so many other moments that are so much bigger than that. It's just, I think if you go to anybody and say, you're a wizard, Harry, they're going to know the moment.
100%.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Shout out Hans Zimmer for that musical score in that Superman.
Absolutely.
So incredible.
All right, coming in at number 18, we have Tobey Maguire stopping the train in
Uh,
Spider-Man 2.
uh,
Probably, like you could argue that it's one of the most iconic, like heroic moments in superhero film history.
yeah.
Peter's putting everything he has on the line to stop that train. And like in that movie, like you can feel every second of like struggle that he's going through to stop that train.
Yeah.
Um
The suit's ripping. You know he's in pain. The other thing is, A lot of superhero movies at the time, it was all about punching and kicking, and it's like all about the action. And if the action was good, you were like, okay, that's cool. But you never got to see heroes really being heroes. And like you said, I mean, he's saving hundreds of lives, and then you have the entirety of New York rallying around him. I mean, it's just so iconic.
Yeah, and then I mean, even going on that, like the people of New York end up, how they catch him, and uh, but they protect his identity afterward to keep him that
Yeah.
friendly neighborhood hero, like to keep that whole thing that he has.
And they comment on him just
Yeah.
being a kid and the sacrifice and let's not forget Spider-Man 2 is easily one of the top 5 superhero movies ever made. If Spider-Man 2 wouldn't have been as successful as it was, I don't know that we would have had the Marvel we had.
Okay, you could say that, but you could say it's one of the top five most influential superhero movies that gave us more after. But could it be top five? That's like
Absolutely.
That's arguable. Like
Woo!
there's a lot of good movies.
The thing I wanted to mention on that was the fact that like heroes being heroes. You actually like now that I really think about it, you don't see that too often in many movies.
No.
Like when you think of a lot of the bigger blockbusters, there's just pure destruction or fights
Yep.
or cleaning up aftermath. Like that's one of those scenes where he had the opportunity to take Doc Ock out if he wanted to, and instead he chose to save all the civilians
Yeah,
on that
lets him get
film.
away so that way he could save the people.
Yep. All right, let's move on to number 17. Captain America being worthy of Mjolnir.
Ooh, it's crazy to me that
Okay,
this is so low on
okay.
the list. I mean, it's
It is.
crazy.
I mean,
I'm going to lead
if
this off. Captain America is one of my favorite superheroes of all time, if not my favorite. And for so many years, I always thought of that scene in Avengers Age of Ultron where the hammer shifts when he goes to pick it up. And at the moment, all I could think was, could he have lifted it then?
Right,
Like, was he faking to like make Thor feel better?
right.
And I remember watching Endgame in the theater opening night, being so hyped and so pumped for almost every moment I saw. But that was the one moment that like I completely lost my mind.
oh, I think every theater across the world lost their mind.
100%. I don't know of anybody who has reviewed films, friends that I've talked to that didn't say we erupted when Cap lifted the hammer.
It was
And on top of that, to actually get that incredible fight sequence with the hammer
Yeah,
and
yeah,
not
oh
just
yeah,
be like, okay, he's worthy.
yeah,
Like they really let him
have his
cook.
moment. Yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
It was a absolute like culmination of just years of character buildup,
Oh,
and we finally got it.
the first 10 years, bro.
Yeah, but keeping on number 16, we have Terminator saying, "I'll be back."
Absolutely. Arnold Schwarzenegger being one of the most
Ah,
iconic action heroes of all time. That's his most memorable line, besides maybe Get to the Chopper. But this, I mean,
Yeah,
as far as for sci-fi movies, the step up in quality of film and action from Terminator 1 to 2, and then having this iconic line to end the franchise.
yeah. I mean, there's really not much other than it is a three-word simple line that became one of the most quoted lines in movie history.
Even if you've never seen a scene of the movie, you know it.
But it also set up one of the most like badass moments when he returns in the car and just like crashes through the police station.
Wild, dude.
yeah,
Wild.
there's so many epic moments in the Terminator franchise overall. And the thing that I love about those movies is like in Terminator 1 in particular, like with Arnold, like they knew he couldn't really act. He was just a big guy and like barely saying anything the entire first film became an overnight icon in acting.
Yep.
And I just love how everything is super simple. You get like it is what it is, you get what you get, and it was awesome. And still, in my opinion, if not the best sci-fi like trilogy of all time, one of. Like
Well, the
it's
Yeah.
other
in that
thing
top five argument.
that it did for that genre too is like really made people feel like you need physicality for these big, larger than life roles. Back in the day, they would they had like one guy or gal that did everything, right? And then even, no matter if you're a badass or not, and then Arnold just being just this big brute, it was like, okay, we got to get more of these guys. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
awesome.
without a doubt.
Yeah. And moving on to number 15, we have the Battle of New York in the Avengers 2012. Uh,
Yeah. Specifically when they
the
assemble.
first,
Oh,
yeah, oh yeah, the first true superhero team up moment on in movies. You got all six Avengers coming together for the first time.
all from their
Literally,
own respective movies. Like,
it literally felt like history in the making. It was.
uh,
You get the 360
I
degree shot of the team standing there together.
the rotating camera, the panoramic. So
Yeah.
good,
Oh
so
yeah.
good. And no matter how derpy Cap's suit was for that film, because that's easily his worst suit, it still looked cool. And the way that
yeah, it
Iron
is
Man
by
had the
far the
bullet
worst.
holes and oh my god, Hulk was a menace then. He wasn't wearing a cardigan. It was awesome, dude.
And I will say, this was a moment that created a lot of tension when we were trying to place it on the list
Yeah,
because it is such an epic moment. There are so many incredible Marvel movie moments.
yeah,
And in that film, it is the first true team up that they all work cohesively in that epic battle in New York. It's a scene that you want to say just can't be beat, but there are too many other moments.
yeah.
It
And
was
if
a
you
really tough one to place.
yeah, and if you didn't like keep up with the MCU even after that, like everyone has pretty much seen that scene, and it's so loved that like even in these later projects that people don't really watch, like in opening credits or like little flashbacks, Marvel is constantly referring back to that scene because they're like, "Hey, remember that really awesome thing we did back in 2012? Like, we're not really doing it now, but just remember we were capable." Like they always want to reference it because it was that huge.
Like if you're just strictly talking about Marvel, it's top five.
Yeah, no doubt.
But like this battle set like the tone for every single MCU event after.
Yeah.
But moving along, we have number 14, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring. You shall not pass. You know, Gandalf standing against the Balrog. Probably one of the most, I don't know, probably the most epic moment in Lord of the Rings. Would you agree? I
I
mean,
don't know if I don't know if it's the most epic moment across the trilogy. In the first movie, it's by far the most
oh
iconic
yeah.
moment,
And
without a
then
shadow of a
in
doubt.
in this scene's like absolutely cemented Gandalf as like one of the most powerful and but honestly beloved characters in Lord of the Rings.
100%. And one, just the whole proportions of the scene are epic. It's the classic. There's only one way forward. He's got to stop this absolutely menacing and terrifying creature from ending their journey essentially before it even really starts. And it's just him and that tiny bridge. And he's got to just stop him.
Mm-hmm.
And it really sets the tone for the rest of the franchise, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
it's, kind of when you start to get that vibe of how strong Gandalf really is. Because up to that point, he's just like a cool old guy. Like if you
Cool.
never read the books, if it
No,
was
yeah.
your first introduction to the series, you're just like, all right, he's a wizard. This is cool. Like he's lit up some things, he's kind of leading the journey. But like up to that point, it's kind of where you get that full turn of like, Gandalf's a badass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I'm ashamed to say I've never seen all of the Lord of the Rings. I know. It's embarrassing for me too, but I'm gonna watch them. But I took the boys' judgment and let them put this on the list because even I, who has not seen the film itself, I know the line. I've heard the line a dozen times. I think I've even said it before without even know where it came from. Like it's iconic, so it deserves a spot for sure.
but even though you haven't seen it, we're going to move right to number 13, which is something that you have seen. This is Heath Ledger's Joker reveal.
Seen it way too many times. I used to watch it on the school bus on my iPod Touch. That's how many times I've seen this movie. Iconic. I mean, one of the best opening sequences of a movie. Period. Not superhero related, just period.
Hmm.
Build suspense, and then especially like we knew the tone of Nolan's universe, and it was kind of set in realism. Heath Ledger at the time had been talking about, how much he prepared for the role. He had passed. There was a lot of talk just surrounding the movie, if they should even release it, if they should delay it. And just seeing the trailer, we got glimpses of the Joker, and the whole time you're waiting on, I want to see what this guy's capable of. I want to see how he portrays it. What's the laugh sound like? I didn't even need that. This man does the whole heist, pulls off the clown mask to reveal the awful makeup smeared everywhere. Just the way he talks creeped me out. I mean, it was perfect.
Sponge, you want to go in and add? Or
I mean, there's not much else to say. I mean, when it
no, there.
comes down to it, it's just spectacular. I
Hmm.
mean, it's one of those moments that's really tough to place overall because, like Leighton said, it's one of, if not the best movie opening of all time.
Yeah.
And it really sets the tone for the entire film. You get to see the almost like lack of thought that the Joker has. It's just like completely unhinged the whole way through. And it like seems like there's a plan, but there's not really. And when you get that initial reveal, like I'll be honest, I had the same feeling Leighton had. I was like, I am terrified of this character, but I need to see more. I need to see more of him.
And
Yeah.
him
Do
and
you?
him them having the plan, him crossing his own people, they don't even know it's coming, you
Hmm.
know? Like ah, it's perfect.
Do you remember the
And
line that like I don't know, the chilling line that he said in that opening scene? It just kind of like send just chills all the way down your spine.
What
He says,
remind me?
"Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stranger."
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
because honestly, that's a line that should not like send shivers down your spine, but it does
It's
so fast.
hmm
Makes you stranger. Yeah, so
yeah.
good. So good. Ah, so good. Wow.
Yeah,
Mm.
just absolutely epic.
But
Absolutely
Yeah,
epic.
it was
Great
hard. It
story
was
and
hard.
everything.
It was hard because I wanted to put that, but I also wanted to do the little push scene. I thought that was always so good, but it's like this was more
mhm.
iconic. I think that, like you said, it's like this got you ready. This got you ready for the rest of the film and his
Mhm.
performance.
And if we're gonna go to number
Honestly,
12, oh, did you want to add something?
just one last point.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just honestly, almost any of Heath Ledger's scenes in that film could be on this list.
Yeah.
Like, but generally speaking, you can't the reveal is too good.
Yeah, it's
Like
too
Mhm.
you could
good.
get over the hospital scene. There's
Oh,
a million moments in there that are spectacular, but I just love how that set the tone.
yeah.
And if we're gonna jump to number 12, it's kind of out of, it's out of a different fandom a little bit, but The Matrix, the red pill, blue pill choice. Um, you know, a moment that's kind of more than just a decision. It kind of defines Neo's entire journey, and it's become a cultural reference like throughout just culture today, and
Yeah.
for just questioning reality.
Yeah.
Um,
There's so many like like Elon Musk talks about the chances of this being a simulation there's are higher than not, and the more that we learn, the more it's like, oh yeah, and then VR is getting bigger. We're able to make these virtual worlds. Like it does really make you think, but outside of that, The Matrix is one of the most iconic sci-fi movies of all time. For a long time, video games, movies, and TV shows were trying to adapt that slow-mo feel and just copying the leather suits and the costumes. I mean, hell, even the first X-Men trilogy, they
mhm.
basically ripped the costumes straight out of that to, kind of buy people in quickly.
And Keanu Reeves's Neo is one of the most iconic sci-fi like nerd type characters that's ever been out.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And the movie is such a trip. Like if you haven't seen The Matrix in a while, I recommend rewatching it because when you're a little older and you can understand it more, it is wild to rewatch after a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hell, we wouldn't even have John Wick if it wasn't for The Matrix.
100%.
Like a movie that truly like listen, Keanu Reeves is a monster of an actor. Like there is no doubt about it. Pretty much everything he's in, he's fantastic.
Right.
But I feel like that was the film that truly like put him on the map.
No doubt.
And on top of that, it was just such a great movie.
Yeah.
And that I
It's a
notice,
lot of
and I
fun.
feel like I keep saying this, but it sets the tone for another incredible franchise of films.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, a lot of these moments, the reason we chose them is like not only were they were iconic for the reason that, you know, like they stick in your mind, but they also showcase why these franchises are so good. They have all these
Oh
elements
yeah,
that draw you in, and you're like, yeah, that's why I watched this. This right here, this is why I watched this.
right. And it's not like like I'm not like trying to hate on the Matrix or anything like that, but like it's obviously not one of the top three. It's not probably not top four, not top five.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that moment it cemented so many new things for just all movies to come, all sci-fi essentially.
Yeah. And action, right?
Yeah, anything. But moving on to number 11, we have another great series of films. Transformers. We have Optimus Prime rallying the Autobots to Earth.
Yeah.
Um, Hearing Optimus Prime's voice saying, you know, we are here, we are waiting. Like, just so simple, but so powerful. Like,
Whoever hears this
Honestly,
that's
at this
message,
11
oh,
spot,
like Peter
at
Cullen's
this spot,
voice
you could just, it's incredible.
is so
You could
good.
almost just put his voice of Optimus Prime in this
Yeah.
spot.
and you got Linkin Park in the background just to really nail
Yeah.
it down. I mean, like 2000s alternative rock was huge, and Transformers took a concept like a children's toy, and we're like, when I heard a Transformers movie was coming out, I was like, I don't know about this, and like the epicness of that first movie in 2007, like I mean, I go back and watch it at least once a year. I live for this movie, like. In
Like
the end of it,
I,
to know they're going to set up more, I was like, we're getting more. He's calling out for other Autobots. Like, I keep them coming, baby. Keep them coming. Now, I do think they overstayed their welcome a little bit, but for the most part, the first
yep,
three, solid.
See,
I don't disagree with that at all. But what I would say, especially one of the reasons, like I love this moment on this point in the list. Like I grew up watching the Transformers cartoons every Saturday morning.
Yep.
Like
oh,
that
those
was
are
an
good.
absolute staple of my childhood was the Transformers, and on top of that, the toys.
Oh, yeah.
Like I remember I got lucky one year. I got one of the really big ones, which I don't even, it never even made it into the movie,
Yeah.
but it was just so cool and so iconic being able to like transform it into a car or a tank or whatever it was. And I remember seeing a trailer for this movie. I'm like, wow, this looks pretty cool. And like just being completely blown away by the film. And like you said, like the fact that that rally for the Autobots, you're like, wait a second, we're getting more of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not forget, too, the CGI for the actual transformation was
Insane.
groundbreaking for the time. Like, at the time, like, CGI was not very good. So when they came out and they did it so fast with the little, like, it was, oh my
Uh,
God. Did the first time you see it?
and like you said,
And
like
this, yeah,
Transformers kind of overstayed their welcome a little bit. They kind of just keep on what feels like just spin-offs and like they aren't hitting.
No.
I'm
Bumblebee was dope,
surprised.
but
I'm so surprised that they haven't done like a story of Optimus.
like a prequel or
Like
something?
just like his own movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he deserves it.
Yeah. Well, I
like
thought
kind
for
of
sure
like
after
a,
Bumblebee, like, they would,
yeah,
because Bumblebee
Yeah.
slapped.
Yeah.
And they brought back like the V1, looks of them, and they kind of took it back to the 80s, like missed opportunity.
like an Optimus story on Cybertron, like in that style, would guys, we're here. Come on, pick our
Mhm.
brains.
Yeah.
All right. But we got number 10. We're cracking the top 10.
Top 10 already. Oh my goodness.
What could be one of my favorite fights of all time. We have Duel of the Fates from Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Yep.
The
Yep.
insane lightsaber choreography.
Especially for the
The
time.
the music score that you'll never forget.
No.
Once you
No.
see it, you'll never forget it. And the stakes of the fight, it was like this fight was the determining factor of Anakin's future.
Yep.
Eh,
Liam Neeson
And I
being a
think,
badass, wielding the
Oh
yeah,
lightsaber,
God.
fighting Ray Park. He's doing flips and shit. Like wild. I remember actually I was probably I don't know, 6 or 7, and I got the Darth Maul lightsaber for my birthday, and I'm just like
Mm.
in my room, like trying not to knock out the ceiling fan, and I'm in there like like just like to myself. No one, oh man, I wish I could go back, baby. That was
and also I 100% agree with Justin. Duel of the Fates is my favorite lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars. It's epic. And I think what a lot of people forget, and you realize more later on, like you said, the stakes. Like it's the first time the Jedi are fighting the Sith in
Yeah.
possibly what 100 plus years.
yeah. They thought they were gone.
Yeah.
Like it's the first time you're having a dark side user going against the Jedi at a time, like you said, that they thought they were gone.
Yeah,
And it's just that wild kickoff of, hey, you have a very experienced Jedi Master and his very powerful Padawan doing everything they can, and they still barely pull it off.
yeah. It shows the raw power
I
of the Sith and the dark side.
and it's like just the music score alone. Like even if there's a black screen,
Yeah,
I'd still cement it in the top 10 just for the music alone.
and Maul's iconic look, dude. I mean, like
Oh
you looked
yeah.
at that guy and you're like, yeah, he's evil, like no doubt. Like I know
I
who the bad guy is. Like,
I really wish we did get to see more of Maul.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen him, obviously more in the comics and
Clone Wars.
other right. But like if he was able to play a part a little bit more, I mean, he didn't even say a word, did he?
No, when they teased him in Solo, I was like, he's coming back. He's back, baby.
Hmm.
No,
But
no.
I don't think he's really ever like talked in anything. Did he ever
In
like
the Clone Wars, he has a lot of speaking points.
Yeah, they
see
used the voice of Starkiller from
that's
Force
right.
Unleashed.
No, you are right.
But I will say, even though like I would have loved to have more, I think one of the reasons it sticks and it is cemented so well. Like it's kind of like Arnold in Terminator One.
Or
Hmm.
Boba Fett
Almost
in the
says
in the
no
original
words the
trilogy.
entire movies. Yeah.
Yeah. But Boba
Boba Fett
Fett.
doesn't even have any action in the original trilogy outside of getting just whacked by Luke.
Yeah, his aura was just
Yeah.
pimp. Like he just
Yeah.
had a cool ass suit, a jetpack, and a cape, and
And
just
he's
stood there
just
like a
standing
pimp.
there.
Yeah, like yeah.
No,
Granted, in
what
the
about him
actual
and
source
Obi-Wan?
material,
What's that? No, no, Boba, not Django.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
but it's kind of that thing of like almost like what you get from the original Jaws movies where you don't see a lot of the shark, but the moments you get are crazy. It's
Makes it that
kind
much
of that
better.
same vibe where you only get a few small moments with him during the film, and it's very minimal context or like a very quick action sequence. And then you get that epic moment at the end, and you're like, yeah, like this is it.
Yeah. Uh solid start to the top 10.
Oh yeah. And we're gonna move straight on to number 9, which is Aang versus Fire Lord Ozai.
Awesome.
I mean,
Peak peak cinema.
yeah, I
Pig.
mean the ultimate payoff for Aang's journey, right? He embraces all four elements, finally enters Avatar state,
Yeah.
but instead of killing Ozai, he just takes away his powers and stays true to his beliefs.
Bro, and like
I
the
mean,
monk
like
in him, the air nomad in him, like
a perfect ending for the arc.
and
Like,
like let's not forget as a kid like when we were in grad school and Sponge and I were in grad school we sat down, we watched the whole series from start to finish, right? And we did it in like a day and a half, something like that, so it was epic, but I didn't have to wait. When I was a kid, you're waiting years, season after season on Nickelodeon for this to come out, and he's talking about mastering all the elements, and you just want to see him use fire, and like this whole journey like finally culminated to this epic scene, and it was like just like little me is just like, yes, like I finally got it, I finally got that payoff. And I think that's what makes it so iconic, because the animation style alone is awesome. It's one of the only like American anime shows that is widely successful, because I do think anime is such a narrow niche for the majority of the population, right? Maybe not
mhm.
us nerds, but for the majority. And I feel like a lot of kids, whether you're into this kind of stuff or not, you've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know what I mean?
And one of the things I love about that final fight is the progression of both characters in the fight. Like when you start out, Aang is very dead set on, I don't really want to hurt this guy. I don't want to kill him. You could tell he's battling with that throughout. And Ozai is just super powered, trying to kill
Mhm.
him at every turn.
Yep.
And then as the fight goes on, you see that flip where now Ozai is terrified of Aang and he is destroying him.
Yep.
For the middle third of the fight, it's not even a fight.
No.
It's Ozai running away.
Yeah.
And then when it finally comes down to the final moment, you're like, oh my God, Aang is going to kill him. It's done. He calms down and he ends up stealing his bending at the risk of losing his own as well. Like
Hmm.
when you watch that scene, it's this close to Ozai getting the upper hand because Aang didn't want to kill him.
Yeah. I have the Funko sitting right next to me just to remind me how awesome it is. Uh,
Moving on to number 8, we have one of the most heartbreaking moments of the MCU. The Thanos snap from Avengers Infinity War.
man, Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good, you know?
it's probably the boldest. It's one of the boldest endings in blockbuster history.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, in all of Marvel.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
because up to
see,
that point, they always win. They always win.
you see all of your beloved characters just turn to dust. Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
And
Like,
you're tearing up.
and
Tony
it's
Stark's tearing
just
up. And it's all the new characters,
whoosh.
like you just fell in love with them, you know. We just got Black Panther, we just got Spider-Man in the MCU at that time. It's like, and then Vision had just got the stone ripped out of his head, and so he's laying there dead. Cap just got knocked out. The Avengers are like done for, like, and it's just like you're watching it all unfold, and then every next thing you know, everyone just starts disappearing. Freaking Samuel L. Jackson, he almost got a mother effer out, just
Mhm.
couldn't get that last word. Ugh.
And something I think that makes that scene so epic is just the way they did the entire movie.
Yeah.
Like right out the gate, you realize this is going to be a different film.
Yeah.
Like Loki's killed, Hulk gets just beaten to a pulp.
Yeah.
Thor can't do anything to stop it. You're like, these are some of our most powerful characters, one of which was the main villain in the first Avengers movie, all wiped out like nothing.
Yeah.
And basically, the whole movie, the thing I thought was really cool was the Avengers are on their heels the whole time.
Yep.
Like, there's never a
they're
point
split
where
up.
yeah, and there's never a point in that movie that you really truly feel like, oh, they got this, they can win.
No,
Like
and you're
everything
trying to
just
figure out how will
feels
they? How will
Oh yeah.
they? Right? And you're like, oh, they're gonna do it now. Nope, they're gonna do it now. Nope. And then when you see Strange be like, okay, no, I have to give the time stone. I have to give this up. You're like, what? Come again? And then it just happens, bro. It just happens. You just hear like the crazy thing is too. All the music is swelling and everything, but then when Thanos snaps, everything goes quiet and just goes, and you're like, ah,
Oh yeah. I mean, because at the beginning of the movie, Loki dying and Hulk getting beat up, you're just like wondering. It's like, all right, who's gonna like save the day?
yeah,
Because it's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna save the day, but it doesn't happen.
yeah.
It doesn't happen.
Especially all the heartbreak that Thor has gone through up until that moment, and when he finally makes Stormbreaker, like he's got this,
Hmm.
he's got this,
Yeah.
and he didn't go for the head.
And that brings us to number 7. Spider-Man 2002. Green Goblin versus Spider-Man.
Oh
Leighton, I
man.
don't know. Do you want to take this away?
Look, for me, it is the most important third act fight of all of superhero movies. Um, Obviously, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. I know I'm a little biased, probably, for picking this, but at the time, again, superhero movies just weren't that great. And the other thing was they were usually viewed as something for children. And the brutality of this fight is insane. Peter is beat up. There's blood coming out of all of the cuts from his costume. He gets blown up by a pumpkin bomb. They're really swinging. You can feel each punch, spits flying out of their mouth. And then when it all comes down to the end, Peter's spider sense goes off. He does the backflip. The glider comes for him, but instead Spidey dodges it. It goes right into Norman's, chest. Blood comes out of his goblin suit, and he just leans over, and then blood starts pouring out of his mouth. And it's like, for a PG-13 movie that was, showcased for mainly kids or for a younger audience, it was wild, and it
Yeah.
showed what you could really do with the genre. It felt like a true movie. It felt like a cinematic masterpiece. And I feel like every other superhero film of the 2000s tried to replicate it by going really big and thinking, okay, well, we have to end this with a fight. But what they were missing was the heart of it. The other thing
Hmm.
was, at the time, this Peter Parker, he had just lost his Uncle Ben, right? His only father figure. He was, adopted by his aunt and uncle. And then Norman kind of takes up that role by being the father of his best friend. But, Norman pays more attention to Peter than Harry. And so you have this dynamic going on. And the whole time, too, Peter doesn't realize that Norman knows that he's Spider-Man. And then when he finds out, he attacked Mary Jane. He attacked his Aunt May. And he did all that knowing that Peter was Spider-Man, made the stakes, all that much greater. And
Yeah.
so that's why the fight just hits so hard. Because
Three
at the end,
words.
like, Peter still wants to hate him and he can't because
Yeah.
that's who Peter is. And it's
Yeah.
just, well,
No, 3 words. It was that fight.
don't tell
Raw,
Harry.
Yeah.
raw, brutal, and personal.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have to think though, unlike most like superhero fights, there was no music. It was just the sounds
Oh,
of
oh, just
punches and just pain. There was
oh
no music.
no, no.
And
And
you
the
know the
crazy thing
thing
is
I
too,
think,
like right before that fight, there's that fun. There's high stakes, right? Like Peter has to also he has to save the people of New York in the train car, but he also has to save Mary Jane, and Goblin's trying to make him choose, but it's still fun,
Mhm.
and like Goblin's flying around, the New Yorkers rally behind him, and they're throwing junk at him. You're like, okay, this movie's gonna end off like pretty lighthearted. Nope.
and the thing that's so crazy about that fight that you both of you just nailed down, it's raw.
Raw, dude.
Like when you watch that scene, you go, this isn't for a superhero movie. This is for a climax of a good movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it sets up so much for later on.
Yep.
One of, at that point, Spider-Man's already gone through that progression of not wanting to kill anyone. And then basically to save himself, he has to kill the father of his best friend.
Yeah.
And kind of completely by accident.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
going to lead us right to number 6. We're about to crack the top 5. Anakin versus Obi-Wan.
Oh my god. Oh my god. The best lightsaber duel in all of Star Wars,
What
no doubt.
what could be the most emotional line in Star Wars is you were my brother Anakin. Like Obi-Wan is
Yeah.
just about to be in tears.
I loved you.
The duel was not just about lightsabers.
No.
It was betrayal. It was
Brotherhood.
heartbreak. It was brotherhood. But it was also like the final fall of Anakin to the dark side.
Yeah.
And how it was choreographed on Mustafar, the setting just made it like absolutely stunning.
Yep.
Lava flowing everywhere, stuff flying, breaking.
Set piece to set piece.
Oh yeah, but at that point, you kind of got to realize that it was either someone's gonna die or someone's going to the dark side,
Yeah.
just based on being Mustafar alone. Like you knew something was gonna happen.
And you get to see, everyone talks about Anakin being the chosen one. Anakin's the chosen one. He's a great fighter, he's a great pilot, all this stuff. And you
Hmm.
see glimpses of that, especially in episode 3, right? Like for me, episode 3 is my favorite Star Wars film. Um, but this fight, he's not holding back. I mean, Obi-Wan almost is. Like Obi-Wan's like, no, like I love you, bro. Like I love you. Let's stop this. Let's stop this. He's almost being defensive throughout the entire fight. And he's not afraid to showcase some power and show Anakin and push him back and say, hey, bro, you need to chill. But Anakin's like, he doesn't care. He's just blinded by hatred. And he's coming at him with everything he's got. And you're looking at him like, I don't know if Obi-Wan can take this any longer. Like realistically, I don't think he should be in this fight any longer. Like he gets beat down in the end, and you just see like the yellow lenses in his eyes when his eyes turn to Sith, and the hatred in his eyes, and the speed of the fights. Right, like beforehand, especially in the OG trilogy, and even in episodes 1 and 2, like Duel of the Fates is great, but the speed still isn't there. The speed of this fight and the power of this fight is incredible, and it's something that I think the rest of Star Wars really needed moving on.
Hmm.
Well, it's something I'll say that I think just is blatantly missing from Star Wars over the last recent years and just since that fight is actors who care about really good fight choreography.
Oh yeah,
Like you can tell when you watch that fight, they were constantly practicing. They were like, hey, this is the end of our run as these characters. We are going to leave everything we have out on the table. And you feel that and you see it.
Yeah,
dude.
but you also have to realize that nobody in these new movies was trained by Yoda.
Yeah,
Like they don't have that background. It's
yeah,
all
That's
different
also
training.
that's a fair point. But at the same time, too, something I do love about about this culmination in particular, and why it is so much higher than me and Justin's even favorite lightsaber battle,
Mhm.
is the fact that like I grew up watching the OG trilogy with my dad,
yeah,
so like they have a super special place in my heart. And on top of that, okay, why does this start at 4, 5, and 6?
right.
Then when we were growing up, we got 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
So in our heads, like we all knew going into 3, all right, we're finally gonna see it,
We're gonna
like
see Darth
how
Vader
this
at some
goes
point,
down and
right?
how it
Yeah,
happens. And it's just so epic because even though it's coming, like it's not a surprise when it happens.
but you don't know how it's gonna happen.
Right.
But that's my point. You don't know exactly how it's going to go down. You know it's coming, and they still completely just crushed it.
Dude, I mean, I remember practicing the Annie Obi spin in my fucking room for hours on end with my plastic lightsabers, dude. Like this means so much to me. I used to come home with sponge nose. I used to come home drunk from the bars, click on YouTube on my TV, and I would just watch it. I mean, it just means so much to me.
And that's going to
And
lead
also
us
how
right to go add your point because this is another big fight we got coming up.
but also like how often can you talk in cinema, in books, in anything where you know the ending and still are
Yeah.
completely captivated by how you get there?
Oh yeah.
And
I
how
can.
iconic is the phrase of "I have the high ground"?
Oh yeah.
I have the high ground.
Yeah.
People say that all the time. I mean, heck, even in video games, like people started taking the high ground in shooters just because, like, yeah, I got the high ground. I can shoot down on you. Like, you can't win. Like, that's what it's from.
Yeah.
It's over, Anakin. Oh my God.
And that just puts us right into number five. And I will say, the Anakin Obi-Wan fight and this fight can probably be interchanged 6 and 5. Like on whatever day of the week it is, you can swap them. Harry Potter versus Voldemort, the final fight, the battle between good and evil.
Yeah, and that's what it is, right?
Harry figures out how to use intelligence over brute force to defeat to defeat Voldemort. You kind of really see the growth of Harry as a wizard
Yeah.
all in this final fight. Um, and especially as like fans, you get to see Voldemort finally turn to dust and that ultimate you start smiling, everybody's happy that, it's finally over. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's just good versus evil. And that's really all what this is about.
The clash and contrast, the red and the green.
Hmm.
The other thing I love too is like when we've talked about Harry Potter before in the podcast, and one thing that you kind of see, Harry's the chosen one, but when you really watch what happens, he always gets by the skin of his teeth, and he's really just trying to survive. He's just trying to save himself and his friends, and he's not. I mean, he's brave. Don't get me wrong, but it's not really always like skill, and it's not like he really wants to be doing the things he's doing. He just is capable, and he does them. In this battle, he goes in going, "I'm not afraid to die. I'm going to do this because I know I have to. I have to save the rest of the world, and I don't care what happens to me." In the past, you can see the fear when he's in combat. You can see the fear, with the dragon and with the trials and with any other duel that takes place with the Death Eaters. But in this, there's no fear, brother. He's just going in. He's ready.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's not much more to be said. I mean,
No.
when it comes down to it, 5 and 6 definitely are interchangeable. But at the same time, like this fight is the true end of an 8 movie saga that captivated so many people. I
That
mean,
never drops off in quality either, by the way. Like I
no.
cannot go back and watch none of them. I sit there and say, no, I don't ever want to watch that again, or no, that was bad, or whatever. Like we've ranked them before in the pod, but it was still hard because like this franchise, especially again being an earlier 2000s franchise, the production quality, the acting, and the epicness of the story. I mean, you read the books and you say, oh, well, they left this out and they left this out, but for the most part, they capture the feel of those
Hmm.
novels, unlike most novel adaptations ever can on the screen. And for it to culminate with this and this fight, like, yeah, bro.
And I also think just the overall reach that Harry Potter had back in the
Yes.
day,
Oh
like
yeah.
I think there were so many people that we knew that read those books and watched those movies that might not be into a single other thing we've talked about.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like
Probably
it's
not
almost in
into
secrecy. They're
Transformers,
like, oh
probably not
yeah.
into Terminator, Matrix, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Marvel. They might not have the slightest care in the world for any of that, but still got captivated by Harry Potter.
100%. 100%.
Moving on to number four, we have Avengers Assemble.
Yeah.
The
In game.
moment we waited for since 2012.
Yeah.
Cap finally
Yeah.
saying Avengers Assemble. The largest superhero army ever just charges straight into battle.
10
Just
years of films, dude.
pure cinematic perfection. It
Finally
represents
whooping.
everything the MCU built up for over a decade. It was worth the wait, and that's
Yeah.
really all there is. It
Yeah,
Yep. The
yeah,
only other thing I want to add is just obviously, like you said, it's over a decade of build up, hinting, Easter
hmm
eggs. Like it would, and to finally one, just hear those words.
yeah.
I mean,
Without
just
it being
perfect.
corny, without it being corny, like
Yep.
it hits, and he straps the shield up, it's broken, like, and Cap's
He's
ready
basically
to put
saving
his
his
life on the line
arm because he has that huge wound.
with a tourniquet. Yeah, yeah, and then
And
you even
also,
see like Thanos at first, he has all the power. He won in the last film, left us on a cliffhanger, killed half of the world's population, and he's looking at them like, oh shit.
one last, I'll be here all day.
I think I ended up watching Endgame like 26 or 27 times.
Dude, it's so good. It's so good. I don't care what
I
anybody says. I know
I
Infinity
saw it.
people think Infinity War is better, but like what it represents and what happens in the moments that we get in Endgame, like
I
untouched.
would
Yeah.
say between Infinity War and Endgame, there's 50 watches there easy that
Yeah,
I've done. Like
so
I
good.
saw each in theaters at least 3 times minimum.
hmm
In fact,
And
after
the
I
one other
watched
thing,
Thor: Love and Thunder, I had to cleanse my palate by watching Endgame just to remind me that like Marvel was cool.
and one like final thing I really want to bring up about that moment is it's the first moment since you basically started Infinity War that you feel like, oh, they can win this. It's
Yeah,
the only time up to that point that you're like, okay, they actually have a chance.
hmm
yeah.
For
Because the beginning of Endgame is really dark, like talking about the blip, and they're still separated, and Tony and Cap are still at odds.
And
Yeah.
even when Hulk does the snap to bring everybody back, like Thanos attacks immediately and you have no idea
Yes.
what happened from it. So it's
Yes.
not until you get that assemble moment that you're like, okay, we're back.
And everybody gets a
Let's see
moment.
if they can do this.
Everybody except
Yeah.
for Hulk, gets a moment in that fight.
And that's going to put us right at number three, which is unfortunately Leighton. You're just going to have the backseat on this one. Uh, the Battle of Helm's Deep.
There's not a better moment in all of Lord of the Rings.
No,
And that's a hill I am willing to fight on.
you don't have to fight it. Not with me. I mean,
Um, at the end of the day, Lord of the Rings, in my opinion, is a perfect trilogy with The Two Towers being the best film out of the three, and this being the most epic moment of the whole film.
oh yeah, and I mean, there's really not much to add other than it is the best moment. It is the best movie out of the three. I mean, the tension in that entire fight. I what is it?
I
I'm
and all I know we could go on forever. I'm going to try to keep my explanation as brief as possible and not trying to hype it up too much, but also partially doing that because Leighton needs to watch this. It's such an iconic and straightforward. We are totally outnumbered. We are totally outmanned, backs against the wall. We have to hold out until we have the hope that reinforcements are coming.
mhm.
Like, and the thing that's so great about that fight is it's the classic. We basically have no chance at winning whatsoever, and there's no help coming, and we just got to try and survive. And as the fight goes on, you have so many epic moments, so many great highlights of your main three fighting characters in the franchise, and still it's not enough.
Yeah, I wish I knew, but it sounds dope, and I will watch it. I promise. I will get it done.
But we can move straight to number two for something that we can all talk about. Star Wars. And let's get it right. When Vader says, "No, I am your father." The plot twist
Wow.
that changed everything. I mean,
Literally, like
no
one of
one
the
saw
first
it.
in cinema.
Yeah, your first time watching it, no one saw it coming.
Yeah,
Obviously, as we look back on it now, you've seen it coming.
yeah.
But
You killed my
instantly
father.
elevate, instantly elevated Star Wars to a new level. Redefined Vader as, I guess, more than just a villain.
Yeah,
He's like,
The fallen hero.
the
yeah,
tragic
he's a
hero.
yeah, with a deep connection to the hero,
Yeah.
to our new hero.
You,
Um,
and the stakes were bigger, the fights were better. And the other thing is like another cliffhanger ending where it's like, what the hell? Like they didn't really win. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Yeah. Wild. And you know, it sets the tone for Return of the Jedi, which is the best of the OG trilogy, I think. Um, and everybody knows this line. I mean, everybody knows it. Well, kind of. Most people say, Luke,
Luke,
I
I
am your
am.
father. But still,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows it. It doesn't matter where you go, what country you're in. Everyone knows it, and that's why it had to be number two on this list. Like,
Don't even have to watch Star Wars to know the line.
no, no.
Yeah.
Sponge, you want
I
to
Before
add
we,
mean,
anything? Yeah. I mean,
there's not much else to say. I mean, I think, in my personal opinion, this is the moment that like completely and utterly put Star Wars on the map, and it basically defined a generation.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
yeah. And
Like
I'm
sci-fi would not even be anywhere near the realm it is today if it was not for this moment.
hmm
No, no. Before
and
we get into number one, I wanna do the some honorable mentions because like we talked about narrowing this list down to 20 moments is like damn near impossible. We
and
were
I
flying by the seat of our pants to try to make this list.
and I did kind of like as we were going through the list, I kind of did think of another one,
What you
which
got?
is like from Wakanda, where they're, Wakanda forever. Like
Yeah, everyone
that's
knows
a
it.
big moment.
It's big. It's big. And it's
And
big for a culture and it's big for, finally like there was another super tech I guess what would you call it? Like source, other than Stark Industries, like we finally had another big name in tech. And but it also was like defined by an entire culture. It's an element from the ground, talking about vibranium, and vibranium is one of the most iconic elements in all of Marvel comics, and to see it realized on the big screen the way they did it with the purple and the ability to basically repurpose energy, like super super cool. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman.
yeah,
It's unfortunate because what they had built with Black Panther before his passing was going to be something really special, I think, moving forward. And unfortunately, we had to pivot away from that due to his passing. And they did a good job with Wakanda Forever trying to continue it, but it just wasn't the same.
yeah. And
And so,
I
yeah,
just speaking of like honorable mentions and stuff, I don't really even want to get too much into it because, we all know how big it is now. Baby Grogu.
yeah, Grogu for sure.
Like he's just cemented what Star Wars, like he's just the face of Star Wars now, as
Yeah,
Luke Skywalker was for us when we were kids, and
yeah,
Vader. Like it's
yeah.
all about Grogu and
Well, you
Mandalorian now.
yeah, well, you basically took like the most iconic Jedi besides Luke and Anakin and made him a baby and adorable, but also like pretty powerful. And it's like, how can you not love it? You know what I mean? And
And
he's
then
got to be
connect him
protected.
back with Luke.
Right. Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you're printing bills, bro. You're
yeah.
printing
And
bills.
basically create a younger, more like vicious version of Django. I mean, not Django, of Boba Fett, that we get to
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
see like play out like
yeah.
what we always wanted to see Boba do.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. They knew what
So
they were
yeah,
doing.
if you guys want to throw in, a couple of your honorable mentions and just give a little quick chat about them, and then we can fire
Go
down right
go to
to the
number one.
the number
Yep.
one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you got, Sponge?
I, I I've got a couple that come to mind. One actually came to me while we were doing the podcast, and I'm kind of bummed I hadn't thought of it sooner. The first time Goku goes Super Saiyan.
Okay, that's iconic
Yeah.
as
I
hell. I don't know how
I
how
like
that passed the memory
like
bank.
I know of the group, I'm pretty much the only one that's a big anime fan. But I'll be honest, like I watched Dragon Ball growing up,
No, so did
and
I,
like,
bro.
and I probably wouldn't be a bodybuilder if it wasn't for it.
Yeah.
Like the whole story is about just them training and getting stronger and fighting.
Yeah.
And that first moment where Goku turns Super Saiyan is just completely epic. Even if you
Yeah.
don't even know what Dragon Ball is, if you say that to somebody, they probably know what you're talking about.
No,
hmm
it's so funny you say that because like you talking about being a bodybuilder and stuff like I was a scrawny kid and I used to watch Dragon Ball Z a lot. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not getting any taller. I'm pretty short. I can only grow wider. So like I started hitting the gym and I remember like doing push-ups in my room and try to spike my hair up to look like Goku. And I was like, maybe if I just flex hard enough, like maybe something will happen. Like I can remember just watching VHS after VHS after VHS. Like that's an awesome moment. Yeah.
And another moment, I got to pivot off that. I know most people were Pokemon fans, but I used to watch Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, and like the first time Yugi beats Kaiba and breaks out Exodia, like is just epic. I mean, there's not much more to say other than you got the rich guy with all the resources and all the best stuff at his disposal, and the guy from the local card shop whose grandfather taught him how to play, who wins the match. It's
Yeah, it's
just
Yeah.
cool.
epic.
And what's even funnier about like Yu-Gi-Oh versus Pokemon is like my first like trading cards were actually Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And the only reason I bought them was because I thought the art was
It
so
was so
much
cool.
cooler.
Yes.
It's way
Like,
cooler.
and I don't mean to be rude. I don't mean to hate on Yu-Gi-Oh or anything like that. But it's like I never got into it. I just thought the card art was insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
In
Yeah.
Blue
fact,
Eyes White Dragon. Like,
dude, I was just gonna say, I used to be babysat by this kid's mom that I went to school with, and he like had all the like they had like a lot of money, and I didn't, and they had like all the coolest cards. Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry, I admit this. I stole his blue eye white dragon and his like
oh,
a dark magician, and I feel really
That
bad to
is,
this day.
dude,
But I
that
did
is
steal them.
blasphemy. I
oh.
I was a bad kid. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have to get that
only
off my
because
conscience.
like
But they were
if
so
those
cool, and
were
I needed
first
them. I
edition,
needed them, bro. I needed them.
if those were first edition cards and they were graded, they could be worth thousands of dollars, and you probably just destroyed them.
Yeah, well, I probably got rid of them at like a garage sale or something. Like,
They probably didn't make it to the garage sale. They probably got spit on and
yeah, or ripped or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, for pure nostalgia's sake, I kept my cards. I have them all sitting in a binder, all my favorite ones. Like I just couldn't get rid of them. Like there's just too
Every now
much
and then you just break them
nostalgia.
out and you cry and rub them a little bit or what?
No, not that at all. It's just I was gonna sell them, and I was like, you know what? Like this was a huge part of my childhood, and
Yeah, that's
That's
honestly,
the
like
awesome.
point.
Justin too. Like I never actually played the game. I just loved how cool the cards were, and I
Yeah,
loved the show.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I
Yeah.
my honorable mentions are pretty um important to me because well, the first one is the airport fight scene in Civil War because the very beginning of that is Tom Holland flipping over the crowd and grabbing Cap's shield and saying hello everyone and like I love like don't get me wrong like Tobey Maguire is my Spider-Man, that's who I grew up with. And I liked Andrew Garfield's take as far as like his Spider-Man. I didn't love his Peter Parker, but I loved his Spider-Man. But like when Tom Holland came out, he nailed everything. He nailed the aura of Peter, the aura of Spider-Man. The suit was cool. Like I loved everything about it. They introduced him to the MCU, which we'd been wanting for years, with all the whole rights issues between Sony and Marvel. And the fight was awesome. I mean, when I saw Captain America was going to be Civil War, it's one of my favorite comic book runs. I've read the whole thing in Civil War 2. And I didn't know how they were going to adapt it. And with that basically being Avengers 2.0, I just felt like that for a lot of people was a really big moment because it was a big crossover film. And then number two, it's it's kind of lame and minor, but for me, like I feel like for years and years and years, Wolverine was a big character, and we never really knew his true origin. And so when they made X-Men Origins Wolverine the movie, they actually, for the first time, fleshed out his origin, and they made a whole comic series actually based on the movie. So I feel like that was important because if it wasn't for that, comic book fans everywhere really still wouldn't know the true story of Logan Howlett. So that was really
If,
cool.
and you can even expand on that a little bit and say, like another honorable mention, we could do the Deadpool versus Wolverine fight.
Yeah, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was iconic, and
yeah.
the two regenerative X-Men who basically can't die fighting each other, and they both kind of realize it at the end of the fight, like this is pointless, you know what I mean? But it was
Yeah.
epic, like
And I
absolutely.
just love to like with Deadpool, even he acknowledges it right before they start fighting. He's like,
Yeah.
"Get ready, like this is gonna be good,"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it
It
was.
was more than good.
It
yeah,
was incredible.
yeah. And then my last one, this was on the list originally because I thought it was pretty iconic for the fandom of Pokemon. Pokemon is huge across the entire world. Um, when I was a kid and in 2000 when Ash and Pikachu fought Mewtwo, like that was everything to me. So I had to throw that out there because it was just really near and dear to my heart. And I feel like a lot of fans of Pokemon, especially Generation One fans, Mewtwo was like the villain, quote unquote. So I wanted to
And
throw that out.
honestly, as a kid, Mewtwo was terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. And you get to see
I
Ash's Charizard in action, and like, yeah, it's super cool.
I never really got that big into Pokemon, but I
I
know of.
also I hate to do this, guys, but I do have to bring up one more. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Let's
go
go for
ahead.
it. Yeah, go for it.
I think honestly, it's kind of relatively new burst on the scene, just doesn't quite give it enough to break into this top 20 list. But I think as the rest of the seasons get fleshed out, we could definitely, if not this moment, have some pretty incredible moments coming our way. And guys, I'm talking about Invincible. I am talking about season one, episode one, when Omni Man slaughters the Guardians.
Epic
Yeah.
moment. Epic moment. Sets the
It's
tone for the entire show.
because going into that show, I didn't know what to expect. The trailer looked dope. I'm like, let me see what this is about. And I'm like, okay, you got a good Superman like character. He's got a mustache. He seems pretty cool. And then he just slaughters your elite group of heroes like it's nothing. And I'm like, okay, what the heck are we in store for here? And they just keep upping the stakes from there. So,
And
also,
apparently this next season is supposed to be like even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
so just to put it into perspective for everybody, season one was so epic. My younger brother ended up reading the entirety of the comic run, all three compendiums, thousands of pages within like 2 weeks.
Mm.
And
That's
of
wild.
course, because of that, I got the entire series spoiled for me. I will say that we are in for a heck of a season three, and I will leave it at that.
Oh yeah. No, that's solid because I remember seeing the trailer for Invincible and not really knowing if I was going to be into it.
I
And
was the same
like
way.
when it ended that way, I was like, yeah, I'm sold. Like, give me more.
Yeah.
So
And then we can kind of go into, well, what would be number one, which is the most iconic moment in superhero history, which is Nick Fury approaching Tony Stark and Iron Man.
yeah.
I mean,
Iron Man thing.
I'll just put it out there and then I'll let you guys take it away because I know how much it means to you guys. But he says I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative,
Yep.
and that sets the tone. Like that's it.
Like
So I know Leighton's going to go off, so I just want to
Yeah,
have a quick
let's get
moment
our
here.
points in here.
no.
Um, so the thing for me that like personally like cemented this as number one is just how incredibly epic Iron Man was. And that was at a time when I know we've talked about it before, but superhero movies and movies joining together as
Hmm.
franchises were not a thing. It was you maybe got a one off, you maybe got a trilogy that by the third movie you were sick of it. And that was kind of like the way the formula was. And the fact that we had this incredible, in my opinion, one of the best castings of all time in RDJ as Iron Man. And off the back of this absolutely spectacular film, and especially the second one, because I'll be honest, I love the second Iron Man movie, but I know it did not hit as hard as the first.
No.
Having that ending where Fury is approaching him and saying that they're looking and starting the Avengers initiative, it makes you realize as a fan, oh my God, this is going somewhere. Like we're going to
Yeah.
have a lot more coming our way. It's about time.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time we'd had the Hulk movie. We knew Captain America was coming out. Like, and for them to actually say like to confirm it though, like to confirm it, and it was like a
Yeah.
post credits thing, and it kind of set up the post credits stinger that they were like known for that no one was really doing at the time. Like incredible. And Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury, one of the best castings as well. It's like you said, Tony Stark as RDJ, so iconic. They're bringing him back as Doctor Doom. I don't know how that's going to be, but like, I mean, he showed us that he can play a pivotal role in this franchise. Um, but yeah, like it is the biggest franchise in cinematic history. 48 movies currently, and still increasing. So like, I don't think anything can top it. I really don't.
Do you see
So
an end?
I do because.
But where?
Well, I don't know. I think there will come a time where they
Because
have to,
but there
because
isn't. You can
well,
you can create all new characters and just
you can, and I think that's kind of where I get worried
well,
because
that's
we
what you
we
have to think though, is that like there has to be something new for the next generation, right?
There has right, exactly. And so, they're about to do Secret Wars. They've already confirmed that after Secret Wars, they're resetting the universe. And now that they have the rights to the X-Men, they have the rights to the Hulk, and now they have everybody, and they're trying to get the rights to Spidey 100%. And they're going to rebuild the universe as if all of those characters were always together. And I think you can make some really great films. I really do. And I think you can finally make the MCU, like, don't get me wrong, like the MCU has its flaws, right? Especially in these last couple phases. And I think now they have the opportunity to make it really feel like a comic book in an episodic form with all of the characters intermingling from franchise to franchise. But I'm afraid that they've been riding this train for so long that myth or rumor of superhero fatigue, I think it will set in. And I think they do need to take a little bit of hiatus and actually plan out what they want to do instead of just producing things for money.
Yeah, but the only way to stop that is to stop doing shows because that's what's really draining the movies is that there's
Yeah.
so many shows in between movie one and two that it's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, or you increase the production quality of the shows or the writing of the shows. I mean, like Daredevil Born Again is about to come out, and I think it's going to be a banger. I think Daredevil Born Again is going to be an absolutely incredible show, and I think
right.
it fits right in with the MCU. The rest of the stuff has been okay. I think the only other shows that have been good are WandaVision and Loki. And if you continue putting shows out like that, you can do that, but not the way they're doing it.
Right. And something I want to mention, kind of bringing it back to the moment in particular, while I do definitely agree that there's a chance of superhero fatigue, there's a chance of things getting old, there is so much material to pull from. And on top of that, like this moment set the stage for something that kind of like Justin mentioned, like doesn't ever really have to end. Like this is series of films. This is a grouping of films that can just continue to evolve generation to generation. And it's
Yeah.
pretty wild to think that this one moment truly set the stage for, like you said, 48 films that is just going to continue.
And let's not forget how many other franchises tried to copy it and just couldn't do it. I mean, DC tried, obviously, and failed. They're trying again. They're probably going to fail. The monster universe from Universal with like Dracula and Frankenstein tried their own version. Nintendo's trying to do it with Sonic right now. They just made a Mario movie. I'm sure they're going to try to do it an animated universe, maybe even a live action universe. Sony is doing it with their PlayStation franchises. I mean, everyone's trying to repeat this formula and no one can quite nail it down.
Well, what I also will say on that front, I think what a lot of the other groups trying to nail this formula down are forgetting is time. Like stuff like
And
this doesn't
quality
happen.
and
Yes,
world building.
but that's where the time comes in. If you don't take the time to truly flesh these projects out, leave Easter eggs hinting at bigger things to come, like you have to truly set it up for it to have the right impact. When you try to rush it, when you try to just pack everything into one film, it just doesn't work.
Right.
And I think that's why we're looking at something that might be around for forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree.
And
Well,
that's honestly why collectively we had to put this at number one.
yeah, yeah,
That's it. That's 20.
that's 20, baby. That was awesome. That was awesome. That was fun. Uh, Definitely difficult to do. Definitely difficult to
Not
do, but
easy.
No, not at all.
yeah,
And I know there's a lot of moments that we did leave off this list, but generally speaking, we were trying to hit not only what we thought was just the best, like unbiased, but the moments that had the most impact to us overall
Oh yeah.
and kind of covered all the different franchises and series that we love.
yeah. And we hope if you guys, know of any that we missed, or you're like, how in the world could you have forgotten X, Y, and Z? Please, put it in the comments, write to us, whatever. It'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can't really add anything else to that.
And with
Yeah.
that,
I think that's a wrap, gentlemen. So with that, stay nerdy, everyone.
stay nerdy.